Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So whilst the game is down for an emergency maintenance once again, hashtag good habits, I will try my best to make myself useful, and we're going to discuss some of the best options for incursions and best champions and some interesting interactions in case you are wondering who will do well there. So first things first, there are obvious kind of like three great choices for pretty much any incursions run that will work fantastically. But do not make a mistake of bringing all three of these champions in side by side, because all three of these champions are basically ramp up champions that you do want to get ramped up as quickly as possible and then use for majority of the fights. So the first three obvious choices will be the A-gun, because once you start ramping up A-gun, you're just going to shred everything through, and obviously he carries the combo from room to room, so by mid-run he's going to be an absolute beast. Then we have Morningstar, if I can ever find her. Where is that Morningstar? I'm probably going to struggle finding her for a while now. Morningstar. Here we go. Morningstar obviously build up to 5 souls, and then she's an absolute beast, an absolute monster, and she interacts extremely well with a lot of the nodes there as well, like buff cornucopia, so on and so forth. So yes, Morningstar can do a lot of really good stuff in incursions. And then lastly, and definitely not the least, it's Venom the Duck. Once you amp up Venom the Duck with all of the crazy nodes, crazy hacks that you can put on him with buff cornucopia and all of the lightning fists and so on and so forth, he's going to do really, really crazy things, and it's going to carry many people through multitude of dungeons. However, I already had a chance to mess about with incursions earlier today, and I definitely discovered some very interesting interactions which I just did not want to keep to myself. One of them is going to be with the science class champion. Where is that science class? And that is with yours truly, Luke Cage. Now, Luke Cage has a couple of extremely good benefits from these incursion hacks, and first and foremost, if you read in his ability description, where is his light attacks, special attack 1, I don't think it's listed. Luke Cage gains 1347.3 attack rating for each debuff on the opponent. So thanks to all of these nodes that let you place Incinerate, Shocks, Armor Breaks, or what have you on the opponent, you're basically going to be hitting for a whole lot really, really fast. So that is a substantial attack increase, and it does help Luke Cage hit like a tank for all debuffs that you place an opponent in incursions. You get a chance to place a whole lot of debuffs. Additionally, his special 1 has 55% chance to stun the opponent for 2.5 seconds. The chance to stun increased by 10% for each stack of exhaustion the target has, up to 30%. There are nodes that basically increase the potency and power of your light attacks, so you will be able to stack up a lot more exhaustions on your opponents as you typically do. Therefore, you basically have 87% stun chance on every special attack, and you can make these very crazy stun chains. And if your Luke Cage is awakened, you can simply eat the level 3 and get back to your standard rotation if something goes wrong. So Luke Cage is in fact quite a bit of a beast when it comes to incursions. Another hidden gem that I found, and that definitely I think is worth a mention during my stream, was Iron Man Infinity War. Because of the global nodes, those boss buffs that basically were Lightning Fists and the Incinerate one. So basically your mediums and light attacks had a chance to either place Incinerate or Shock an opponent. Right, that works in several different ways with Iron Man, and probably the most notable one is that you can mix them together and combine them into these plasmas. So it doesn't have to be Iron Man's Incinerate from level 2, or it doesn't have to be Iron Man's Shock debuff from level 1. So for instance, if you have that Incinerate boss module active, all your mediums have a chance to place an Incinerate on opponent, so then all you have to do is drop a level 1, and actually you're going to be able to combine both of them into plasma. Obviously, if you are lucky enough to have Lightning Fist and the Incinerate mode active, then you're basically just going to be spamming plasmas all day, every day. Plus, he obviously benefits from quite a lot of different abilities and buffs that you have there. And additional note is, thanks to being able to spam so many plasmas, you're going to have an excellent power control, and effectively you're going to never have to bait out special attack from opponent, which is going to be extremely helpful. And he definitely put in a lot of solid work for me when I was testing him out, and I was really pleasantly surprised, because if you combine that with some other crazy stuff that you can get in Incursions, which largely typically increase your damage output, then you just end up doing a whole lot of damage and whole crazy amount of power control for very little to no effort, and it kind of made him a lot quicker and a lot more impressive. So super happy with that as well. Another champion that definitely deserves a shout here would be a champion of skill class. Now I did bring him in the Incursions. Unfortunately, didn't have a chance to test it out too much, but is Night Thrasher. Now Night Thrasher also has a similar ability to Luke Cage, and if we take a look, Night Thrasher's immunity to incinerate effects. Night Thrasher gains 89.58 critical damage rating for each unique debuff on his opponent, and that's perfect, because basically you're gonna have a whole lot more crit for each debuff that is active on opponent, and again you're gonna have access to armor breaks, more incinerates, more shock debuffs, pretty much everything. So he is also gonna end up hitting quite a bit harder, thanks to the extra added debuffs. And last champion that I also definitely think is worth mentioning, and many people would think that Wasp is not a great champion choice, but in fact if you play Wasp well, you pretty much never have to parry, because you can just extend your combo into heavy attack, knock the opponent down in the corner, bait out their special attack, go back in, finish with a heavy attack, spam the heavy attack twice if you have to. And so effectively, even though Wasp is a glass cannon champion, her playstyle is very kind of conservative towards you, plus there will be options to buff your Wasp up to begin with. But her heavy attacks also get stronger, and all of her hits get stronger from the amount of debuffs that opponents have. Where is that ability? I don't think it's listed here. Here we go. Whenever Wasp shrinks down, her next 2 hits will be critical, so every heavy attack will be critical with 1600.09.2 attack rating for each debuff active on the opponent. So when you get these lightning fists, when you get the incinerate node active on you, Wasp will end up hitting for crazy amount of damage, and that should be very cinematic. So I definitely look forward to actually bringing in Wasp myself. I remember using her in dungeons quite a bit, so I'm kind of excited to see what my Wasp will be able to do in Incursions with all of these nodes and stuff like that. So now that these basic shoutouts have been given out, still certainly, for instance, Quake can still be one of the Dungeons MVPs, especially if you have buff cornucopia or that other node that lets you gain a Fury buff whenever a non-damaging debuff expires on an opponent. So Quake can effectively end up doing 300, 400, 500% of the damage she normally does, so she can also be an absolute monster depending on what node you get. But some of the main shots definitely have to be given to the champions who, first and foremost, have a lot of buffs and access to debuffs. So champions like Venom will be insanely useful. I tried Venom out today myself as well, because he plays a lot of bleeds, which is based on critical rating, and you can get critical rating buffs, and he produces a lot of buffs, so buff cornucopia will be godsend. And also, since he plays a lot of bleeds, there are very crazy interactions that you can have with a lot of hacks in Incursions, and Venom was doing an absolutely magnificent and fantastic job for me personally. Another node that everybody is kind of like raving about is Annihilus, because obviously Annihilus as well gains his ability. He can get ability increase due to these hacks, and therefore kind of be a lot more potent, but I haven't tried him myself. I'm somewhat maybe a bit skeptical, but I'm sure he's going to provide some really cool videos, and there's going to be some cool stuff. Just the actual versatility of Annihilus that I'm worried about, but I'm sure he's going to do something extremely interesting. Carnage is another champion that gets increasingly much better with increased ability accuracy on his light, medium and special attacks. Therefore you are able to spam so many more bleeds. Additionally, you have access to a lot of buffs and debuffs, and that typically can grant you a huge increase in damage and carnage. Also, I did test him out in Incursions and he was extremely fun and powerful to note. Another champion that seemed to excel more so than I expected was Archangel, once again due to his access to many debuffs and due to increased ability accuracy on all of his hits effectively, because you can get them buffed for mediums, lights and heavy attacks. And that basically meant that you were stacking crazy amount of neurotoxins with all sorts of other debuffs active on opponent. So these are kind of like the most worthwhile champions I wanted to shout out. Obviously, another interesting example was Man-Thing, because Man-Thing also was doing a lot of interesting stuff in dungeons, with increase in ability accuracy, with constantly being able to spam special attacks, with access to prowess debuffs, and those special attacks ended up doing a whole lot of damage because there are modules which increase your attack based on the amount of debuffs opponent has. So there was some really crazy stuff going on. Additionally, obviously, I don't think this video would be complete if I didn't give out shout out to Void. All of these extra bleeds and incinerates and armor breaks and everything else that you do have access to will greatly benefit Void and his capacity to distribute damage on your opponent. So I suspect that Void might be low-key insane for a lot of incursions, because you're going to be doing so much damage over time thanks to Void's abilities. Another champion that I did in fact end up using myself was Longshot. Longshot was doing some really crazy work for me as well. I'm not gonna go look for him now. And was there anything else that I wanted to give a shout to? OG Tor. I had a chance to actually play around with OG Tor as well, and thanks to all of the increase to armor breaks and that potency, he also ended up doing some really crazy numbers very early on, very quickly. And thanks to the stun ability, he was like very reliable on finishing out the fights extremely quickly. All in all, I'm 100% certain that there are many really cool interactions that we still have yet to find, and I think it's pretty much impossible to go through all of them and kind of expect and predict what's gonna happen. Like Ronan might be an absolute beast, Rogue was working fantastic when I brought her in as well, and Squirrel Girl potentially might do some insane bleed damage, so on and so forth. Another champion that would be kind of exciting and cool to try out would be OG Hulk, because of his access to all of the fury buffs plus increased ability accuracy and special attacks that could potentially end up with some insane stun loops. And yeah, there is definitely a lot to test and definitely a lot to try out. And Incursions, even though I still don't agree that they have like the best rewards, they definitely have very fun gameplay mechanics to explore and play about with them and all that good stuff. So hopefully this video will give you some ideas of what to test, what to try out. Maybe you want to try out some of my suggestions, maybe you find out some of your own really crazy interactions. If you do, let me know. I would be gladly willing to test them out as well myself, because yeah, the game mode's fun, I'm not gonna deny it, and I'm really hopeful it's gonna make some very cool streams and insanely fun videos. All that being said, I hope to catch you guys soon, and if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, hit that sub button, share it with your friends, share it with your alliance mates, share the ideas, share crazy videos, share node examples, everything, all that good stuff. All that being said, I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya.